There are two different versions of Lightroom that can be used to edit photos. First is Lightroom Classic, which is used just on desktop computers, but we will not be using that. We're instead going to use Lightroom, which can also be used on mobile devices like phones and iPads and things like that. So first thing you need to do is bring some photos in. So you're going to go ahead and hit add photos here, or if you already have some open, you can hit the plus button to add more. So I'm going to go grab that. You'll notice I have duplicates of everything that I've shot, and that is because I shot my photos in both RAW and JPEG at the same time. If you have the ability to do that, it'll give you more power. Let me show you what I mean. So once we've got our photos in for review, I hit add photos, it brings them both in. And if I take the first photo, which is very overexposed, and I turn down the exposure, you'll notice it darkens the image, but I still have lost all the detail in these bricks, which is no good. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this photo. Just right click on it and delete it from my album. Also worth noting that these photos are being synced up to the cloud, so you should be able to access them on any device after you have brought them in. So I've got the same photo, and if I take this RAW file and I turn the exposure down, there's much more information. This is all the information the camera took when it took the picture. So I now have all those details back in the image, which is great. So I've got more power to edit. So first thing I'm going to do, up here on top you've got an auto button, which usually does a pretty decent job. It brought the light to a good place. You could make it black and white if you wanted to. There are also some different profiles, which kind of change the color slightly, as you can see. Landscape gives me a little bit more color, so I'm going to choose landscape for this one. And then you've got multiple sections that you can adjust. So we're going to go into the light section first, and all the exposure, which is the light, is here. In fact, I like that a little higher. Contrast is the different in the darks and the lights. Your highlights control like those bright whites and the details in them. Your shadows, those darks, you got your whites, and then your black. So just slide things, you kind of get a feel for what looks the best. If you want to see the before and after, under your backspace key, you can hit the slash. So there's the before, and there's the after. Much better so far. Next, we've got this tone curve. This represents the lights in the image, the darks, and then kind of the mid-tones. We can also go back in there, close it if you want to, or you can make it a point curve. I'm going to click and just drag a little bit of an S curve here to add some contrast to the image. Something like that. If you want to see the before and after, you can turn that on and off. I actually like it better off, so I'm going to leave that off. And that is your light section. Okay. Beyond that, you've got your color. So you can adjust your white balance. If your shot looks too yellow or too blue, you can change that. You can say auto and have it try to figure it out for you, which added some warmth in this case. You can grab your eyedropper and say, okay, this actually should be white right here. I click on that and it adjusts the image to those colors. And this actually looks better. If you don't quite like it, you can adjust the temperature slider and get it where you think it looks good. And then you have vibrance and saturation. Both are similar. Both will increase or decrease the intensity of the color. For example, saturation will take it out, or if I turn it up, it's going to make my colors really pop. If you want to reset a slider, just double click on it. The difference in these two is that vibrance protects skin tones. So if you have a person in it, you'll want to use vibrance because it's not going to affect the skin color as much. So if I pull this down, you'll still see there's still some of those brown orange tones in it. So I'm going to turn this up just a bit, give it just a little bit more saturation. That's great. Into the effects. So you've got texture, right? Adds a little bit of kind of grain to it or makes it more hazy. Clarity is very similar. And you can dehaze. You also have a vignette. You can add a vignette to it, like a burn edge, kind of a white edge. I'm going to add just a little bit of a burn to draw your eye to the center of the image. And then beyond that, if you go down in the color section again, there's this color mixer. So if this is closed, you can open it up by hitting the little arrow. And maybe I want to adjust some specific colors in here. Maybe this green is not exactly how I want it. So I could take the greens, and you've got your color, overall color. You've got your hue, which is the color itself. You got your saturation, the intensity, or the luminance, which is the brightness. I could take the color of the greens and I could adjust them, right? And you can see that's making them brighter green or more dull. Now, if I wasn't sure of the color, I could take this little target, I could click on the green and drag, and that's going to adjust the color for me. I could do the same thing with saturation. Bring those colors up. Maybe I want to turn this leaf color up just a little bit, bring some more color in there. And maybe on luminance, maybe I want to turn the green down here in the grass just slightly. Maybe in the tree, I want to turn that up, make the tree a bit brighter. And let's just look what we've done here. Okay, a lot more color. So you can specifically target individual colors here in this section. Beyond that, you can go into details if you want to and sharpen things, which I don't typically do. Optics will allow you to, if you're using a DSLR, it'll help adjust the lens, right? So it adjusts it based off the lens you used. But once you get it how you like it, once again, hit underneath the backspace key. There's that slash. There's the before. There's an after. Drastic difference. That picture looks much, much better. There are also other features inside of Lightroom. You can add photos with the plus button. You can go here to home and see tutorials. You can go to your albums, or you can even go here and see which ones you have shared to the web. And then over here on the right side, this takes you back into your adjustments. You've got tools that allow you to flip your image and rotate, things like that. You've got a healing brush that allow you to remove elements and change them, though I think this works better in Photoshop. And then you have these powerful brushes and then linear and radial gradients. So a brush would allow you to do those same things but to a certain area. So for example, if I took this brush and maybe we want to make this tree a little more textured, I could take that brush and start painting, right? And as I paint over that tree, if I hit O, it'll allow me to see where I've painted. I can control the brush itself up here in the settings for the brush. If I open it up, here's the feather on the brush to make it more gradual on the outside, or the flow, or the size, things like that. I'm done with that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit O again. So to turn that off, but it should be still active. So I can then go to the exposure and test it, and you can see that's making it brighter or darker just in that one area. And then I could maybe come down and add more texture to the tree to make it like the focal point of the image, and maybe some clarity. And we'll go up here to the top and increase the contrast a little bit, which is really making that tree stand out. Right, there's the before and after. In addition to that, right, like I said, there's a linear and a radial gradient. So if I came here to the linear gradient, I can, maybe I want to make the sky a bit darker. I can click and drag down, and you can't currently see that, so let me hit the O key. There it is. So you can see that, right? I can change that. I can make it longer or shorter, and maybe we just need to turn the exposure on the sky down a little bit. Make that a little bit darker up top, turn the highlights down, something like that. You can adjust how that works as well. And maybe we want to change just the color and affect just the tree. So I take this radial gradient and I would drag that the size of the tree. I can then move it as needed and resize it. But now I can adjust the exposure to just that tree. I could add texture to just that tree as well. And I could even come down here and change things like the hue. I may want to change the tree color slightly. So I can do things like that. So there are a lot of options here to make your image look better. When you're done, it should automatically be saved to the cloud, but you can also download it by clicking this button up here to share it, and it'll give you different sizes you can export, or you can just share it. I'm going to go ahead and export a large full-size version of this by clicking, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to decide the location I want to save it to. I'm going to put that in my photography practice. So we'll save it there, and there it goes. From there, once I have all of my photos edited for this project, I'm going to come back into Photoshop, and I'm going to open up a print document. So let's make this, you can make yours wide or tall, make it paper size, and I'm going to make it wide. I'm going to open that up, and then you can go ahead and make your background whatever color you would like. Actually, I'm going to make mine more of a gray tone. I'm going to paste or paint some color in there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and place, embedded, I'm going to place all of my images into this file that I've edited. I'm going to size them down to a manageable size. I'm going to put all of them in here together, and that's what I will then submit to Canvas.